basically hear the defender's brains going, no. Welcome to amorephillyunion, the podcast where we swear to talk about the Philly Union, the whole Philly Union, and nothing but the Philly Union, with as few digressions as possible. We are your hosts. I'm Paul.
I'm C.
And I'm E.
Welcome back to another episode. Some housekeeping. Help us help you challenge. We're up to 608 downloads as of the start of this podcast. Once again, an increase of 32 more downloads this week. So thank you to everybody for tuning in.
That's 2 weeks in a row. Big number, download numbers. So thank you.
And we're in the 600 section now. So
yeah, we're up in the 600 section. Yeah.
Less than 400 to go.
Yeah, we're getting there. We have 2 new locations that have popped up some listeners. Here in the U.S., we have Michigan and Oklahoma. So
nice.
Welcome. You got
all right.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. And then overseas, we have Spain. And Iran. So Iran. Yeah. Yeah.
Spain, I have a guess, but I
have a guess for Spain too.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Welcome, because I'm forced to say it in English. I don't know. Farsi.
Yeah.
But,
no, not a clue.
No, thanks for tuning in. This is fun. It's like every one of these new locations is like the proverbial pin in the map, and we're trying to get as many as we can. So
yeah, thanks for joining us. And for those who are new, the Help Us Help the You challenge is we're trying to see how fast we can get to 1,000 downloads. And if we can get there before the end of the year, we're going to make a donation to the Philadelphia Union Foundation. Mm-hmm. And if we can, for every month that we get there before the end of the season, we'll increase that amount. Mm-hmm. So if we get there in August, we'll increase it, because I think the season actually this last season game is in October.
It's October, yeah.
So we would give it, a bump from September and for August if we can get it done this month.
Yeah.
So please help us spread the word about the podcast. Help us get our downloads down. All right, so we got 2 games to cover this week since we recorded late and there was a rain delay anyway. So we have first 2 Leagues Cup matches, first against DC, and obviously since they won that one, we continued on in Leagues Cup against New York Red Bull. So the first game, DC United, 0-0 at the end of regular time, leading to a penalty kick shootout, which the Union won 5-4.
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. I think we missed our first PK shot, and then after 5, the 5 PKs, it was still tied 4-4, and then we sunk ours, and DC did not. I don't know if it was a miss, if it was blocked, but so we got 5 PKs in a row.
Even a successful stutter-step, which I don't know if I've gone on record here yet. I'm not sure, but I am very anti.
Not a fan of the
stutter-step unless you super know what you're doing. Basically, if you're no, actually, no. I was going to say if you're Messi. I was going to say if you're Messi, but I don't know. Messi's missed a few PKs here and there too, so not a fan of the stutter-step.
I think it's worth mentioning because it was McGlynn who did the stutter-step in this DC game and did succeed, did put it in the net. Yeah. But that is playing with fire with that stutter step, because I feel like the loss of missing on a stutter step outweighs any gain you could get by doing a stutter step. It's all a matter of preference, style, opinion, apples and oranges. But man, I just feel like you roll those karmic dice when you get all cheeky with that stutter step. So
I guess the hope is that, you take a stutter step at the right time, the keeper dives, and then you just slot it past him.
Yeah.
But too often it tends to bite you in the butt.
I feel like if you're caught in a Groundhog Day loop, it's okay to do the stutter step.
It's the only acceptable. Because you're right. The thing is, if it succeeds, great. But then if you miss, it just reeks of being way too cute. Yeah. And I know that's not fair, and but there's a lot of emotion already around PKs. We'll get to that in a minute. I was wondering how my sweet nephew was holding up at the second game, but we'll get there. Yeah, there's a lot around it. So fair or not, they just irritate me terribly. So.
One thing about the DC game that I always forget whenever we play DC is that they have Benteke, which is I always forget that. It's like, oh, that's right. So it's kind of like between Benteke and Rooney as the coach. It's nice seeing some the EPL stars coming over, or former EPL guys coming over.
So while United only had one forward up top, the Union had 3 defenders to keep them in check, and were able to do it.
Benteke was dangerous in that game. He was definitely
always.
Yeah, you definitely his veteran status was very obvious in the field. So,
and for a guy as fast and as good on the ball as he is, he is massive. He's a big guy.
He's a big guy,
and he's not afraid to use that size.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I always I admire the low profile Rooney kind of keeps sharing.
Yeah,
I mean he's not a oh god, here's a bad pun, a messianic figure by any means, but he is an English superstar and really plays it low key over here. I mean, you hardly think of him as much different than any other coach, which I kind of admire. Rooney's got a lot not to admire about him, but he seems to be holding it together well over here.
Does he still have his beard? I like his beard.
I think
to be honest.
Does,
I think it looks really good.
Yeah, he finally gave up on getting the transplants and moved down to the chin, which is working better for him. But,
I guess I think the beard works. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you're right. I always feel like, I mean, maybe this is just the press not really focusing on this, but he has kind of blend into the background of MLS, which I kind of appreciate. Also, I feel like we need to get like a proverbial swear jar anytime we make a Messi reference. It's like, dollar in a Messi jar.
maybe that's the next foundation fundraiser.
Yeah, that's the next foundation fundraiser.
Yeah. I'm sorry though, is DC's keeper really named Bono?
Bono, yeah. So not only is he like a world famous rock star, he's also I think about 6'1", 6'2", with a great looking mustache. I don't know why I'm fixating on facial hair in this episode.
Oh no, I didn't catch that his name was Bono.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was Bono.
Bono?
Yeah.
Okay, that makes more sense. That's why I didn't catch it, because I wasn't looking at it in print as much.
Yeah. But so basically,
I like it as Bono for the record.
Yeah, there we go.
Go
on. As we were saying earlier, it was basically 90 minutes of a bunch of guys running around on the field, and then it went to PKs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I would say that it definitely seemed like United's game plan worked against the Union. Keeping it kind of ugly and not letting them connect and make passes.
Yeah.
Which kind of got a little frustrating to watch, that the Union couldn't figure out a way to make their possession count and generate some real scoring opportunities.
But there was that one weird play in the second half where I think we tried like lobbing the ball in toward the DC goal box. The keeper came out. Carranza was running in. He had like 2 defenders on him, and the ball bounced in front of the keeper. And it took it got a weird like power boost off that bounce, and it went over the keeper's head.
Carranza made contact. He
did make contact. Oh, okay. I didn't see that
for the keeper.
Yeah, but so the ball goes over the keeper, and Carranza's like just fighting with all the defenders to keep them from touching the balls. It's like this slow motion rolling kind of
you basically hear the defenders' brains going no.
Yeah, time absolutely slowed down, and the ball did go in, but I still remember watching that, and like Carranza starts celebrating, and all the DC guys like no, and I'm thinking, I don't know if they're gonna allow this, and sure enough,
pretty clear Carranza grabbed him.
Yeah, it was like it's definitely like a little bit of a wrestling match, but it's always fun to see those weird plays like that.
not a lot of other close action in this game, and it didn't really feel like DC had a ton of opportunities either.
Yeah, actually, your take on it, that like DC's plan to disrupt the Union game, I was like, yeah, absolutely, I could see that. But it feels like that was it. It's like, okay, so now that you took the Union plan off the table, what does DC got? It's like, oh yeah, we don't have anything. It's like, okay, well, again, 90 minutes and we'll just go to PKs.
Yep. And then, the PKs on this one, the 5 mandatories ended up tied 4-4 because is that the one that Gazdag, did he miss or did it get blocked? I believe believe he got stopped.
The keeper saved it.
Yeah. So the first
Bono saved it.
The first PK in playing for the Union that Gazdag misses doesn't get in is against DC.
Oh wow! Well, now this game has taken on a lot more significance in my mind. I did not realize. Even as I was writing up my notes, I'm like, Gazdag missed, saved by keeper. That's his first missed PK. Oh man, that is a dark day.
That, to be clear, he, if the keeper hadn't gone that way, he would have scored. It's not like he totally missed the net.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, I mean, we're going to talk about the U.S. later, and I wanted to make it clear. Gazdag hit the frame.
Yeah, he was on frame. That's true. Yeah. Just to be clear. But wow, okay, that's that day now carries a little extra significance.
It did end up only going 6 rounds because Pedro Santos missed his shot off the post, and then Mbaizo stepped up and won it by putting it past Bono.
That's right, and Bono even got his some fingers on the ball, but it still powered right through.
That's why I get that there's probability and why some players go straight down the middle because they count on the keeper making the dive. My opinion is just pick one side and put it there as fast as you can.
Nail it. Yeah.
Because if the keeper stands still, then you beat him. If he goes to the other side, you beat him. If he goes to the side that you guess and you put it with enough power, you're still likely to score.
Yeah.
If you drive it right through the middle and he doesn't move, well, you're screwed. So
might as well just do the stutter step.
Don't play with me. I'm still not over last year.
I'm trying to envision like other like real life scenarios where you do the stutter step, like, I don't know, you're getting in line at the grocery store, the supermarket.
I feel like this is going to be a thing now where you mess with me.
Yeah.
That's great.
I want to start doing stutter step in public.
All right, so the Union managed to get past DC at home 5-4 in penalties. And for that they get to host New York Red Bull, everybody's favorite team to hate.
Yeah. And it's funny, coming to this game, there does seem to be a curse of getting the 0-0 in regular time and going to PKs and you win. It feels like 9 out of 10 times that next game you play, you're out. I feel like I've seen it in like World Cup. I feel like I've seen it in other tournaments. You survive, you get the PKs,
your luck.
Yeah, and you're out. Next round, you're out. But
the Union end up winning this one.
with PKs.
Yes, it goes 1-1 in full time, and then the Union wins in the 5 mandatory shots in PK.
Yeah.
This was an interesting one. Personally,
Absolutely.
I did go to the game. My son and I went, and earlier in the season, he had asked, "Hey, I know we don't have the tickets for the Red Bulls game in September, but could we get tickets in the Sons of Ben section for it?" And I went and looked. The Sons of Ben section for the regular season game against New York Red Bull is sold out. So I wasn't able to get it. So when this game popped up, I hopped online and ordered a couple of seats. For the first time, Nate and I got to go and watch a game from the Sons of Ben section. And it was worth it.
So how was that actually? Because we haven't done that.
Yeah, I mean, just besides the game result, I mean, that certainly plays into it and heightens the enjoyment and everything. Yeah. But like at one point in the second half, Nate turns to me and goes, "All right, I think the Sons of Ben section has won me over. I think I would really like to get tickets here." Now, that said, anybody listening to this, I don't know what the supporter sections are in other stadiums, but I imagine they're all relatively similar. They're really not places for young kids. So Nate at 15, he's fine. I probably need to have a little bit of a conversation, but the language used in the Sons of Ben section is not the language you use outside of the Sons of Ben section. But it's got a very I liken it to like when you go to a concert and everybody just knows the words. Even those people who don't know the band that well, they're willing to sing along for where they do know, and they're hot, they're kind of getting excited, exciting each other up. And that's how it really was in the Sons of Ben section. Like, I mean, I was high-fiving people. We were, people were yelling at everybody was yelling at the ref. Nate made some comment, and the guy next to, two or three guys down goes, "This kid knows what he's talking about." Just a lot of the game was positive for the most part for the Union. So it was, very positive response. We did sit up near the edge of the TIFO. So we weren't down in mass of people. So we had a good view. He could see everything. I would just, if you've got an older kid or you want to go and experience it, it's definitely cool. I did send some pictures to you guys, and I'm pretty confident that we saw that family from the social media feed that we talked about becoming Union, following the Union because of Cruz Azul. That was kind of cool to see them. I didn't know how to approach them, or I probably should have, just to say, "Hey, saw your video. That's awesome. Thanks for following the Union." And there were some guys at the stadium that weren't Union fans. One of their buddies, I think, was a Sons of Ben member and had tickets there, and they were standing up in the back row with us. So we were chatting. So it was really a good time. Definitely recommend it.
Just as a little bit of color, we have been taking Nate. Mostly you, but occasionally us, to the games since the Union started. So he's been going for years and years now, and we have done our fair share of yelling over other chants to try to make them kid friendly. But usually we're not in that section, so it's now that he's
there was no avoiding it. Right there.
No, for sure not.
Now, I'm not trying to get Nate in trouble or anything like that, but he might have he might have contributed to a few.
When in Rome.
I do remember years ago. I don't know if you guys remember. We went up to the Red Bull Stadium because I believe it was a playoff game, and we took Nate when he wasn't super small, but he was still pretty small. He was too small for some of those words. And some people, it was funny because that was a little bit like a mini, I imagine, a little bit like a mini Sons of Ben section. And people around us caught on to the fact that we were yelling to kind of cover some terms. Yeah. And they all started doing it too.
Yeah, I remember that.
Which was kind of sweet.
That's cool.
So, but anyway,
so instead of the YSA chant, we go, your socks have holes.
Your socks have holes.
Yeah. So, exactly. There's one for you to use with your kids if you take them to the stadium.
Your socks have holes. Just gotta yell it really close to their ears so they don't hear what's actually being said.
Yeah. Or
let's face it, the YSA chant is rather unimaginative.
Yep.
I mean,
So.
But this game, it definitely seemed like the Union were on the front foot for the whole game. Unfortunately, they had a bad giveaway very early in the game that the Red Bulls managed to turn over, and a couple of quick passes, a couple of quick runs, and they slotted past Blake, and there really wasn't anything Blake could do, and it was just a bad pass. It was a bad pass and a good turnover.
I think they were employing the strategy of the sooner we get behind, the sooner we can get caught up.
I wish they would stop that.
Hey, it works for me. But yeah, that was definitely a bit of a lapse. It felt like, and they just caught us in that quick lapse, and they punished us for it. It was nothing Blake could do on that goal.
I will say really quickly, this is the game where I went from Leagues Cup Y to Leagues Cup. Why aren't we scoring? Oh my God, we have to win this game.
Yeah.
And
we're all about Leagues Cup now.
Yeah, we're in its win. I mean, I think maybe with the Women's World Cup having gone a bit sideways, which we'll talk about.
We'll get to that.
But that kind of thing. But yeah, and I mean, obviously Red Bull's right. So
yes.
That was huge. It was like, look, if we're gonna go out, we're not going out like this. I mean, I don't want to go out to LAFC either. But anyway, yeah. So the slogan has changed.
That goal definitely. I mean, it wasn't a packed stadium, but it didn't really seem to get anybody too down. I guess the fans and even the union have seen this enough where we give up an early goal, but we know we can still be in these games.
I feel like that's one thing they've really done well this year. And I think I remember hearing commentators say this about the union. It's like, we're kind of like, I remember saying this about Real Salt Lake before the union had Philly. Before Philly got the union, was like, when they're down, it's okay. That's just one more goal they're going to get now. It's like, there's this, you're down a goal. Okay. Nothing to panic. We'll manage this and we'll come back. And I really feel like this year they've done a good job at that.
Well, and scoring in the first 5 minutes also qualifies for the scoring too early Men in Blinkers / Raj Bennett rule.
Yep.
So, which is nonsensical but helpful to think about when you're down. So.
But it would take an awful long time for the union to actually get that goal.
Yeah.
They certainly were attacking. It once again just seemed like they couldn't generate a pass into the box to actually get a shot off. It was dangerous. Red Bull did it. They may have learned a little bit from DC United and tried to muck things up a bunch. There were a couple of plays over the top through the rest of the first half and in second half where it looked like a Union player could have latched onto it. There were a couple of, especially in the second half when they were attacking towards the Sons of the River end, where it looked, I mean, they were only a couple, just a degree or two off from making something good happen. And it would take a corner kick for the Union to finally translate all of that effort into a goal.
Yeah, and that was Harriel has definitely been kind of popping up on the radar a lot more this past this past month. Because that goal, Wagner took the corner kick and Harriel just floats in there. He just totally got up in the air and just made a beautiful header into the goal.
It was a really good goal. I mean, it was really. Certainly the place erupted once it happened. It was like a big release, and it just felt like, because that was one of a series like 3 or 4 corner kicks for about 10-15 minutes.
Yeah,
and I remember. I think it was that one or the one before, like Damian Lowe was walking into the box and like trying to get the crowd hyped up. Not that he needed to try too hard. But they sensed that they were going to turn one of these into an option.
Yeah.
Just one other thing I wanted to point out, in this game in particular, Damian Lowe, I know he started with the 3-back. He looked out of sorts through most of the first 60 minutes of the game. Like, I think he might have been the one that made that bad touch to turn it over.
Yeah.
And then there were a bunch of other points during the game where he would make the passes, but it just seemed to take him an extra quarter of a second, half a second. It's like, bud, what's going on? Like, he just was not moving the ball the way he normally does. He was getting beat on some of the runs that I wouldn't expect him to get beat on. He just kind of looked disconnected. Now, that said, Jack Elliott looked like he was going to run through a wall to get the Union to do something. And the other frustrating part was they couldn't get the ball to Gajdag's feet. Like, anytime they got it to him, it was off of a thigh or his chest, and then he was immediately bombarded by 2 Red Bull defenders. And it's like,
he was
they needed to play through Danny instead of to him. And it just felt like that was missing. And then Carranza was making the runs. He made the runs all day long, and but when they eventually made this, the sub to get Ura on, like, there was immediately a difference in Ura's attacking style than Carranza's, and the two played really well off of each other.
Yeah, Just to say about Lowe, because I remember feeling a little frustrated with the Union defense. I just felt like they were a little shakier in that game. Just just the way New York would attack, and it would just seem the players were scrambling a little bit more. Obviously they held out long enough, right? New York only got one goal. We equalized, we go to PKs, but I remember just feeling like not as confident about our defense. I just couldn't put my finger on it necessarily.
But we should talk about the substitutions and the unfortunately mandatory or necessary substitution
unfortunately,
that the did have to make when Carranza went off injured.
No, not
or gosh dog.
You want to start that one over?
No, that's okay.
This was
welcome, people. I don't always say things correctly.
This was when I started kind of coming out of my Leagues Cup is kind of cool stupor, because I was like, wait a minute, Gazdag got hurt. Wake up. Reports so far are thin on the ground. Just basically says forced off with a knee injury and that he is questionable for Friday's match. So questionable is not out. It's not in. Obviously it's kind of right down the middle. That was just for me. That was when I was sort of like, wait a minute. My whole extra tournament senses went off again.
And it was a weird injury, which makes me a little bit worried, right? Because it's just the way he kind of came down on his leg. He didn't even hit anybody. And it's kind of like those kind of subtle, non-contact injuries when you find out something got torn or something like that.
Like structural failure rather than trauma.
Exactly. And it's those always make me a little bit more worried. So the fact that he's questionable, hopefully that's a good sign. And it's just, he just needs to let it heal. He walked off the field and everything.
Right.
But in fact, I wasn't entirely convinced he was coming off. It kind of looked like one of those maybe come off the field, walk around, come back on. But I guess,
and I think that's was kind of slightly on the sideline. But then they ended up pulling him off and making the sub and him going to the locker room, which was a little that's especially once they go to the locker room, that's where it's really kind of worrisome.
Yeah.
All right, so a little bit about the game, a little bit about the experience. 1-1 at the end of regulation. The Union weren't able to find a game winner.
But they did find 4 yellow cards in the last 15 minutes.
Sure did. That started. I don't know what it was like there, Paul. You'll have to tell us. But it looked like the ref had just lost the thread.
I think nobody warned him that these two teams don't like each other.
I remember you texting us that.
And he didn't set the right standard of play early on by giving out some yellow cards in the first half on rough tackles. And so the feelings definitely boiled over, and there was, well, let's face it doesn't take much to get Martinez to step to somebody. And sure enough, he did. And he, got his birthday yellow card. And then he wasn't alone. Wagner got one. Martinez got one. I'm trying to remember who else got.
Bizo got one.
I think got one.
Bizo wasn't even fully on the field.
Even on the field.
No.
He got a yellow card.
I was like, I don't know if I've seen that. At least you don't see that very often.
To a player on the sideline, no. To a coach, apparently it happens. But...
Especially not a particular hothead, from what it seems. Who knows what he's actually saying when he's down there, but he's not known for that, at least.
I really felt like the ref was losing control of the game a little bit there. So,
which usually, in order for the ref to reassert control, they have to dole out a couple of yellow cards, and then the captains will finally get them to control themselves. But it definitely felt like it was bubbling up, and people were not liking each other. Also felt like the Red Bulls were really trying to waste as much time as possible, which you kind of expect. And then it went to penalty kicks, and I guess the Union won the coin toss, and we got to hold the penalty kicks in front of the Sons of Ben. So when that was announced, or that was made clear, the group got very excited down there, and it was interesting because they actually called out and said, if you have a flag, wave it while they're shooting and hold it still when the Union are shooting.
That's awesome.
Yes. Okay.
There was actually a bigger guy wearing a very tie-dye, very, very neon colored shirt. And he would like move all around, get his arms waving and stuff like that. And then he would like kind of hide behind the banners when the Union were there.
Nice.
Because he was right down front there.
Oh man, that's great.
Yeah, so they got into it. And so when Blake saved their first PK, the place went crazy. And Andre was definitely appreciative and responding to the crowd as they were chanting Andre Blake. And I'm surprised my voice has held out this long. It was really rough yesterday coming home.
Wait, quick Nate check. How was Nate through all this?
Yeah. Oh, he was going out of his mind. He was screaming and yelling, and he had a great time.
Oh, good.
So Blake stops the first one. The Union, go up a few. Then Red Bull miss a second off the crossbar.
Yeah, that was a crazy one because it crossbar ricochets down to the ground in front of the goal. And bounces out. It was
shades of Women's World Cup until we saw a different angle on the shot. And it was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. And then who was it for the Union that missed there?
Midland. And now we're coming full circle now.
And you know why or how? Actually, maybe not why, but how he missed it on a stutter step.
On the stutter step.
So, we actually watched these games out of order. We knew the result, but we saw this first, and I ranted what you heard earlier, basically, and then realized that he had actually had done the same thing earlier in the week, and I was like, well, I can see why he would try it again. But
I don't know.
Yeah, so that made it 2 misses for New York and 1 miss for the Union. So it came down to the fifth round, and New Jersey scored their fifth shot, and then Bueno got to get had to come up, and he put it away, and
God love him.
There was the parallels between this PK shootout and the previous PK shootout, right? So the McGlynn stutter step he did in both, right? He sunk it on the first one against DC, missed on this one. But in the DC game, right, when Bizo scored that last goal, the DC keeper Bono still got fingers on it. This one, when Bueno sinks it, Coronel, the keeper for New York, also got his fingers on it, but again, it just blasted right past him, and that was the winning goal. Yeah, nice parallel between the two.
Yep. So the Union now advanced in the Leagues Cup. So they played. Oh, we forgot to mention that the game was played on Tuesday this week because of the tornado watch on Monday. Right. So the Union will take on Querétaro on Friday.
A rematch.
The last time they met in Philly was in the group stage of the Leagues Cup, and the Union easily handled them 5-1.
Yeah, it's gonna be interesting because when we played them in the group stage, we beat them 5-1. Right, they had their full squad, but their keeper was that kid basically who was a sub.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're
unclear if they're first strings back. So I'm not sure.
But Querétaro has gone on to beat Pumas and New England, so it's kind of like
they might have brought their starters in now.
Yeah. Exactly. So now it might be a different team we're facing on Friday. So I'm excited for this game.
Yeah.
So
that keeper was out with a broken jaw.
Yikes.
So I'm not sure. I mean, how close he was to healing, but it sounded like not. So. But if they've done that well, who knows? Something's happened. So.
And which stage of Leagues Cup is this now? This is quarterfinals?
Correct.
This is quarterfinals.
This is the round of 8.
Round of 8. Okay.
Yeah. So 3 more victories to win the title.
Yeah. I personally, I'm I'm really enjoying Leagues Cup now.
Once again, we are eating our words.
Yeah. And then if it doesn't go the way we want, I'll be like, it's just a throwaway tournament. It doesn't matter.
Yep, pretty much.
Yeah, look at it as the Union have a game on the 20th. So if they get one more game out of Leagues Cup, if they lose to Querétaro, okay, not the end of the world. But winning a few more, sure, I won't complain, I guess, too much, other than I just hope that if they make it to the Leagues Cup final, that they get their game on the 20th moved somewhere else in the season, because I think the final is scheduled for the 19th. So I don't see how they could have games back-to-back days like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if they're going to move around LA's schedule last season, I mean, I think they could at least do it for the Union if they're going into the final.
It's interesting because Liga MX is going on.
Yeah, right.
So Querétaro. There it is. Has been playing games in between these. Now I'm not saying, one day, one the next, but they are interspersing, as are any remaining Mexican teams. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So I didn't know that either until I was doing a little research earlier. So hopefully it's fair for everyone. But yeah.
One more demonstration that this is not this Leagues Cup just doesn't, it means different things to different teams. So
that's a good point.
Yeah.
But one thing that we know means a lot to all the teams is the Women's World Cup.
Yeah.
And I mean, unless there's anything else you guys wanted to mention about let's tackle a little bit on the Women's World Cup. Obviously, we're all pretty bummed that the US got knocked out. The Sweden game, it looked a lot like the Netherlands game, where it was just, the Sweden knows how to play against the US. They've matched up enough. Sweden's a good squad, and they kept it. Both teams kept it ugly. Neither team looked like really make a lot of good connections through the game. It definitely seemed like if one of the teams had a moment of brilliance, that could have been enough for it, but just couldn't find that moment. And 0-0 all the way through regulation, 0-0 all the way through both extra times, and take it to penalty kicks, and take it beyond the 5 penalty kicks. Both teams had misses. Try and remember. I don't know if Sweden's keeper ever made a save on the US. I think the US just missed on their goal attempts. Nair did have an almost save, but I mean, what do you guys want to talk about with this match against Sweden?
Yeah, it was disappointing. It was disappointing. When Rapinoe missed, and then Smith missed, and then O'Hara missed. I mean, hers went off the post at least. I don't know. It just felt like some magic was gone. I don't know. I feel like, I mean, I gotta imagine everyone's pretty tanked at this point in the tournament. Right? I'm not gonna, say like that they should have been playing harder, but I don't know. It just, this is my self-loathing fandom coming out. It's like, what did we do wrong? I don't know.
I can talk out of both sides of my head on this one, because
you should have a podcast.
Hey, yeah. So let's do it. Part of me, I have been worried for years. I mean, not actively fretting, but still, about the US sort of maybe not realizing how much other countries are coming up the curve. And I think I've mentioned that on here already. So, so I think there could be a little bit of that, but then, all this, we should have won, and we should have. I don't think I don't know. That seems wrongheaded too, because I don't think that we have any inherent birthright to being the winners of the World Cup. I mean, is there a lot of talent there? Undoubtedly, but at the same time, there's really no should in any of this. There's talent on all of these teams,
especially going up against the third ranked team in the world.
Yeah, that's the thing. So some of these people who are coming down super hard I'm struggling with Carly Lloyd a little bit. Always struggle with that Lexi Lawless. I mean, that's just.
I will say this though.
So
that's your team, USA.
Yeah, exactly.
I did agree with his analysis at the end, though, where they were talking about just the U.S., dropping out and all that. And it's what we talked about, right? Okay, maybe the U.S. isn't playing as well as they have in the past. Whether or not there's younger players on the squad, right? But we've said this before, right? Well, it's a combination of that, and the rest of the world is just getting better, right? Because when one team excels, it's going to pull everybody else after them, right? And so he made that argument that, like, okay, he's holding his hands up in the air, showing different levels. Like the U.S. was at this level, this World Cup, they were not. They were lower than that level, and I agree with that. But the other thing is what we're saying: the rest of the world, right? Mm-hmm. Your Portugals, right? Your Vietnams, they all up their game, right? Yeah. So it's like,
Morocco, for heaven's sake.
Morocco, right? So it's kind of like, yeah, we should win this game. It's like, well, 4 years ago, 8 years ago, maybe.
Yeah.
But it's two things. One, I think one can make the argument this team is not as good as previous teams in the past. Two, everybody else is that much better.
Exactly. So maybe the arguments go together better than I think they do, because they feel opposite. But if you put it that way, I think that's true. I just get frustrated with all the shoulds, because that's a big word to throw around to me.
The other thing that frustrated me in this World Cup is that the chemistry just never seemed to be there for the U.S. team.
Yeah, agreed.
I feel the same way.
They I don't need a team playing tiki-taka. I don't need to have 55, 60, 70% possession rate where you're moving the ball around, 1 and 2 touches here and there. Yeah. But that said, you should be able to make good contact. You should be able to make passes to the player in open space. You should have players running for the open space. Yeah. You should have players talking to each other and being able to know, hey, if I get the ball in this position, I can count on my teammate making a run there, and I'll just lay the ball out there and they'll be there for it. And it never felt like that the U.S. had that connection.
And I think too, right, for me, like what kind of summed up the spirit of the past, like arguably 12 years of the women's team is, again, and I reference this ad nauseum, but that U.S. Brazil game when was it 12 years ago? U.S. was down. It's the game's getting closer to the end. We have to equalize in order, because it's elimination. I think this was quarterfinals or semifinals, and Rapinoe just coming down that left wing. Abby Wambach is just muscling through 2 defenders. Rapinoe sends his long cross in. Abby Wambach gets up, heads it in. And there was that chemistry, right? Because they just kind of knew where their other teammates were going to be. And then you got that spirit. I mean, like Haran was kind of Abby Wambach-esque, right?
Yes.
That was great to see.
Yeah,
I loved Haran in this.
Yeah, right? And look, new players come in, they bring their own style. I don't want to necessarily, we always have to have a Wambach, but there's that energy that you
have to have a beat of the team. You have to have a heart.
And unlike the men's team, because I've heard, I remember when Klinsmann took over, right? And one of the things he said, like, we have to figure out what is our style of play. The women's team, they had it figured out from day one. They had such a heart way of playing that was so great to see. And I think maybe, Paul, when you mentioned that, makes me think like that heart wasn't fully evident in this tournament. Why? I don't know. I don't want it. But like, like even when because that, I still remember, and again, that was the curse of the winning on PKs and then you lose your next game, right? So the U.S. beat Brazil, right? We equalized. And then we went to PKs, and then the next team we played was Japan. Right? And then we lost to Japan, right?
Vividly.
But even that loss was like, there was none of that we should have won, right? It was just like, look, we played our game and we didn't win.
And they were really good.
And they were good, right? So anyway.
Speaking of shades of the past with Japan in that World Cup, the Japan team in this World Cup they're looking amazing.
Yep.
I don't know if you saw that there was that one highlight goal that they had during the group stage where I think they passed it about 12 times with like 6 different players involved with a dummy, and just led to this beautiful goal again. I think it might have been against Morocco. They just look amazing. This tournament.
Yeah, and related to that, the 8 teams that are remaining now, because Paul, you pointed out, right? Do you want to share that one statistic that you shared about not making out of the group stage?
Oh, yeah. This is the first World Cup where both Brazil and Germany did not make it out of the group stage.
Man.
And now that the U.S. is out, that's the previous World Cup winner.
Yeah.
It's like anybody's game. It's wide open almost.
But when you look at the 8 teams remaining, right, it's like, I think this speaks to the whole idea that the rest of the world is just upping their game, because Spain, Netherlands, that's the next game. That's going to be a powerhouse game, right?
Yeah.
Japan, Sweden. That's a final right there, right? It's like we keep thinking like, oh, Brazil's out, Germany's out, US is out. Who's left? Well, there's all these great teams still left, right? Mm-hmm. Australia, France. Now, Australia is a little bit on that Cinderella arc.
Yeah.
And I hope they just keep wowing us. But again, France, I mean, they're a powerhouse. And then the 4th game, England, Colombia, right?
Colombia was a huge, it wasn't a huge surprise, I guess, but it was great seeing the Colombian team play as well as they have in this World Cup.
So any one of these quarterfinal games could be the final. And it's like, it's that I find myself correcting my thinking. It's like, yeah, Brazil's out, Germany's out, USA's out. There's still 8 great teams still in the running.
So what?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Spain, Netherlands feels like a rematch of some sort of 17th century war, doesn't it?
But I just realized Spain, Netherlands is Thursday at 10 tomorrow at 9 p.m. All right. Cool. We can actually try to catch that one.
Yeah. That's the most watchable of that round of games.
So there's still a lot of quality,
lot of
exciting games, a lot of quality coming still left. It's going to be a good...
It is interesting though that some of the better women's, like the countries with the better women's leagues, are still in there. France and England. Like they're picking up more and more of the best players playing in those 2 leagues.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to start seeing that result in better performance in these international tournaments.
Yeah. Again, I think that's an indicator of the rest of the world just upping their game, right? They're
NWSL. Come on, let's get it. Let's get these. See the money invested in this, and let's get this game going.
We do have Marta in our league, so I guess that's not nothing, but.
That is the one thing I wanted to say. I thought it was regrettable from the sort of troll point of view that US did not do overly well in this World Cup immediately after winning equal pay with the men's team, because I just feel like I'm not saying anything about that at all, but I feel like there's gonna be a
little bit of a letdown because of that, you think?
I just feel like there's going to be backlash from ignorant folks.
There's going to be backlash against ignorant folks no matter what would have happened.
I know, but
it's a little more, it's one more bullet in the gun, I guess.
Feeding the trolls, as it were. So that was just I kind of felt bad for them on that front, but so hopefully that's kept to a minimum. Yeah, exactly.
I'm kind of annoyed at the trolls too, because I can't use my joke now about now that the women's team is getting paid like the men's team doesn't mean you have to play like the men's team. But I just
you just did. You're good.
Okay.
You got it in there.
All right. So moving forward, I'm expecting some good entertainment from the Women's World Cup, even if I'm not going to necessarily have a team to root for specifically. I'll just root for good games, and I hope to see that. The Union will host Querétaro on Friday, and if they win, they play again. They play next Tuesday before the final on Friday.
That is a mean pace. Like 3 days, games every 3 days.
At least they get to play at home.
Yeah, at least we're at home.
Through the semis.
Yeah, so long as they don't face LAFC in the final. They'll play at home. And I believe LAFC is still in it, right?
Yeah, I think so. I would have to double check, but the last I had seen, they were kind of dominating, to be totally honest. So,
as far as other union news, the one bit that I saw towards the end of the the transfer window, the union did sign another attacker, Ty Paribo, I think his name is, from he's an Israeli national team player. Ty Baribo. He's coming out of the Austrian league, where apparently he's scored like 16 goals last year, and looks like a good addition to the attacker squad. I don't think he's a direct replacement for them expecting to lose Carranza this year, but rather kind of more like an aura pickup, where it's like, hey, this kid could be really good. He's 25, so he's pretty well where he's going to be. He's now maturing based on his, just experience levels. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see if he can come in and contribute a handful of goals for the rest of the season, and then maybe something in the off season. Or if he's going to need to take a year to settle into the MLS. And there's a theory, it's called the David Goss theory of players in the MLS, in MLS. David Goss is a podcaster for MLS Extra Time, and his theory that he put out there a couple of years back was that whenever you see these summer transfer targets, they come in and they don't really wow at first, because it takes them, somewhere in the 10 to 12 months of time to acclimate to the league. Obviously, you bring somebody like Messi, and he damn well better acclimate fast and contribute soon. But Baribo here seems like somebody who's going to get some opportunity to grow into it, because he's got a contract through 2025 with a club option for 2026. So he's got time to grow. So he's going to be here for a while.
This has the hallmarks of a Tanner transfer.
Yeah. And I haven't been able to find any official word or official document saying that it is, but I heard in one of the other podcasts that Tanner did get a contract extension.
Ooh, I hope that's
so. Hopefully that's accurate. Yeah. Again, it's just kind of hearsay at this point, but I forget where I heard it, and probably ought to get on Twitter, what used to be Twitter, the social media formerly known as Twitter. And,
which is how it is now the prince of social media platforms.
It's funny, like I was reading an article on something, and it said so and so posted on X, in parentheses, social platform formerly known as Twitter, and immediately all I could think was
well, apparently there are a bunch of other websites and platforms that use X as some sort of significant portion of their name, and nearly all of them are porn. So thanks again, Elon, for that. From the ridiculous to the sublime, getting back to Ty Paribo for a second, I did one of the mini mic interviews with him right after the signing was announced, and they actually asked him if he had a cheesesteak yet, because this is his first time coming to the States.
That wouldn't be kosher.
Exactly. That's what he
really
said.
I was just kidding.
Yes. No, that's what he said. He's like, I'm actually not allowed because I keep kosher, and I can't eat that because with the kosher, of course, you can't have meat and dairy together. So he said he'd have to give that a miss. Although does Cheez Whiz count as dairy?
It is a cheese product. Yeah.
I know. That's what I'm wondering, though. But I at the same time, totally respect the kosher keeping. I just had to make a Cheez Whiz joke.
I wonder if the new, like, the impossible meats, if those classify.
Yeah, right. We were talking about that.
Exactly what I said. I wonder if there is sort of an exemption for that.
From what I understand, there are a couple of restaurants in Philly who do really good impossible meat cheesesteaks. So that might be an option for him.
Yeah. I wonder if the ruling is in on that. I guess it depends on which which level of kosher you're keeping. Yeah.
Are you the spirit or the letter of the law here?
Yeah, exactly.
So talking social media, Christy, you did share that post. Did you want to bring that up here?
Yeah. So Matt Real got engaged. So congratulations. That was announced on August 2nd. I think it happened a little before that, but congrats to him. Yes. And then, of course, a belated happy birthday to my birthday twin, El Brujo. So super psyched about that. It was cute because somebody did actually, this was also on the socials, someone literally gave him a yellow card with happy birthday written on it. Nice. So as a card for his birthday, which, I enjoyed that. So,
and when is his birthday?
August 7th.
Okay. So it would have been on the day that he played in the Red Bull game, but it turned out to be the day before the game.
Yeah. Safety first, kids. Yeah. That was a rough night weather-wise. So
yeah, seriously.
Yeah.
That storm was no joke.
Mm-mm.
All right. Anything else?
No, I think that's it.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, thanks again for joining us for another episode of amorephillyunion. You can find us at our website, amorephillyunion.com. You can email us at pod@amorephillyunion.com. You can reach us at the social media platform formerly known as Twitter at amorephillyu, or Instagram, YouTube, Threads, amorephillyunion. You can get our podcast wherever you get your podcasts: Google, Apple, iHeartRadio, Amazon, whatever. Please subscribe, like, comment, help us spread the word. Remember, the sooner we get to 1,000 downloads, the more money we send to the Union Foundation to help people. So thanks everyone for tuning in for another episode of Amore Philly Union. We're your hosts. I'm Paul.
I'm C.
And I'm E.
Go Union!
Oh boy. Oh, Paul, you are a dad.
I wish I recorded that.
I'm glad you didn't.